So it's basically 3 interconnected towers.
There is some audio.
So this is the corridors that lead to the front door. So you see the kind of spatial volume. And then every house belongs to a village of 80 homes, and those 80 homes share this social and community space. At the same time as having these quite cozy horizontal spaces, it has these really dramatic vertical spaces. So it's quite, I think this is some potential for the high density city, that you can have this combination of coziness and drama within the same building. And the entire top of the building is a public park where you can walk for 400 meters around the top of the building. So how it's formed is really, instead of 960 houses, we thought, let's make them into these villages of 80 homes. So here you see 3 villages of 80 homes, and then we basically just stacked them up until we had 12 villages of 80 homes. And it's really, in a way, very similar to the typical plan of the public housing. The only thing we did was take something that is normally linear, and we sort of folded it into a diamond shape. And that was enough to create for us this social space. And again, in plan, it's a very simple diagram. So just every 11 floors, we have this community space that runs through the middle. Being public housing, we couldn't do what we've done on our other projects, which is have deep transfer slabs or any kind of complicated structure. So these sky gardens actually sling between the blocks, and we built up the level outside the apartment areas. So we still maintain the very low 2.8 metre floor-to-floor height that the public housing requires. And all the structure only comes off corbels that are supported off the load-bearing shear walls at the sides of the apartments. And I think Carmel would find it interesting too. The whole thing was built without any staging or scaffolding. So these sky gardens were done with hollow beam shells that were placed on corbels, and then precast planks put across. And then the final top reinforcing was put in, and then a slab poured together to tie the whole thing together. So that was actually a big saving in temporary works, and worked very well, although it took quite a bit of coordination to work it out with the contractor because of the lifting capacity. We had a 14-metre span, which was quite a challenge in terms of the weight. Also has generous public park as well at the ground level, shared just not with the development but with all the neighbours all around as well. And at ground level, this is called the community living room, a space where people can sit and overlook the park and open their letters and watch their kids playing. We made this suite of precast living room furniture because we wanted to furnish it, but there was not much budget and they didn't want any maintenance. So, but in the end, this worked quite nicely. So we have concrete lounges, concrete side tables, and lamps. But it works to create quite a cozy social atmosphere within a very low budget. How the Sky Gardens work is we basically dropped 2 levels of homes just on half the plan, and then depending on the plan, these are on different sides of the building. And so this is the area where we have the longest span was across here, and this is all just built up within the standard floor heights. This is the sort of essence of the social engagement part of it. So the front doors of the units are all here, and the lift is basically around here and then folds around. So anyone coming out of the lift can look down into this space and see their neighbours hanging around, and that's where we thought is where it's a nice place to wave and say hello. Maybe your kids are coming home from school and see the neighbours' kids down there and they decide to go down there and play with them. And I think that's facilitating these casual encounters is really the way that people feel very comfortable meeting their neighbours, rather than formal occasions or something that's too far away from their daily routine. So these are the spaces that every village has, every 11 floors. And the kind of interesting three-dimensional matrix that you get throughout the structure. So the units are very simple, but nice proportioned rooms. One thing we did introduce was this mid-level monsoon window, because the traditional HDB had a high-level window that you could open during the rainy season. But what happened is, which I'm sure you're familiar in Kolkata, is you need the air movement on your body. If it's up high, it just flows over the top and you're still very uncomfortable. So this low-level slit window could allow you to direct the breeze on you when you're sitting down, and it works very well. View of the public park. There we go. Yes. There should be audio anyway to bring it up, because we have the residents talking about it. Never mind. I think it's still nice to see them here. Basically, we interviewed quite a few of the residents to see how they were using these common spaces, and had great feedback from them that they really were getting to meet their neighbours and their kids playing together. We had an interesting interaction with the Public Housing Board when this was finished. The CEO said to us, "Oh, you've given us a bit of a problem with this project. Now all the other housing estates are saying, why aren't their houses like this? So we said, well, there's a simple answer to that. Just make all the next ones like this. And in fact, they have adopted a lot of the concepts and ideas of this for future projects. The only strange thing is they haven't asked us to do them. I'll now just show a few quick photos of the projects that we're doing in Mumbai. We're only working on 2, and when we came to this project, we were a complete India virgins, and have learnt a lot over the years. We've now been on it, I think, for 7-8 years now. But what we thought was really important about working in India was we'd done some of these projects in Singapore, but Singapore is a really special case in some ways of a country. It's a very small country. We've only got 5.5 million people. Whatever we do there doesn't really affect the planet much. While India, on the other hand, I think is, it's a big country with a huge population. It's developing very quickly and building so much of its future city fabric. And when we looked at Mumbai, we saw a lot of American consultants coming in, building very sealed up air-conditioned towers. We had, even on this project at the beginning, we had an American mechanical consultant who said, oh, you can't open windows in Mumbai. We've done the calculations. You'll have too much condensation. So we recommend that the towers are sealed up. And so we thought, no, it's really important to maybe bring a tropical high-rise and see if we can solve some of these issues in the Mumbai context. So what we did, although we have almost 5,000 apartments, or I think now there's more than 5,000 apartments, we wanted to make all of them cross-ventilated, all the lobbies naturally ventilated, and in the end we developed this pinwheel plan, which works quite nicely. So what it does is the apartments are basically pulled out into L's and separated, and we get light wells that come into the apartment like a pinwheel pattern, and that, as a strategy, sort of gave us double-sided apartments everywhere, and actually quite a lot of possibilities in what we could do. So this is the diagram that shows how it works. So basically, we can bring in light and air from all directions. All the apartments can be cross-ventilated. And we also had the opportunity to create little sky gardens as well for not every unit, but for a substantial portion of the unit. So I think we end up with about 2,000 sky gardens total in the project, which I think is something quite exciting because in Mumbai context, it's very difficult to own a property on the ground. Oops. Yep. So this is a view of the sky garden. So in some ways, the sky gardens act like giant louvers inside this opening, and this is the view you get from the lift lobby. So showing how we managed to get light and air directly into the deep plan. Another thing that distressed us a little bit was the 5,000 apartments translated into like 12,000 cars, and in this piece of land it was a requirement that all the parking was underground, so we ended up with I think 44 hectares of underground car parking, I think it is, which is quite disgusting from an environmental point of view, and so we've really struggled seeing how we could try and ameliorate some of this, the impact of this. And one thing we thought was interesting to try was to try and use the traditional Indian device of the wind scoop, so these elements, to at least solve the ventilation of the first basement, even if it doesn't help us with the second and third and fourth.